Suleyman. That's what we're talking about. This great ruler that the Muslim nations and in Europe called him the Magnificent. That he was one of the greatest rulers of all time. He was ruler of the Muslim nations. And as I said, he considered himself to be the rightful ruler of the entire world. So he figured that he would take on the empires of the world and become this, the ruler of the world, the lawgiver of the entire world. That the entire world would be Muslim or Islam. He thought that would happen. And he felt that would be under his rule. So that's what he went about doing. He was considered himself the lawgiver. That he would take all of the laws, any laws, man's laws, and all the different religions and places, and make one set of laws. And everyone would follow this one set of laws, of Muslim laws. And there would be no exceptions at all. You had to follow these laws. Part of these laws were considered the Sharia laws, which were basically told them how to live in their contemporary living, everything that people, how they would live, and what they would dress like, and how many times a day would they pray, and what they would eat. All these things were in the Sharia laws. So no one dared to revise any of these laws because Suleyman the Great, he had them all put together and he devised them, and everyone was afraid of not meeting the mark when it came to these laws. They included things like praying many times a day, and how you would dress, especially as a woman, what you would wear veiled over your head, fasting, Ramadan, all these things, religious laws, all listed in the laws that Suleyman put together. Suleyman, and then he went around and he dressed and disguised, and he'd make sure all of his governors and all the parts of his empire were following these laws. And they were making everyone else follow them too. They were required, especially the big requirement that he was looking into is that on Fridays, there would be special prayers, and the prayers especially would be for Suleyman, the emperor himself. He had this largest spy network ever. He required great things of his advisors under this law. He was considered, no one dare say that the laws were unfair. That's for sure. He also was considered Suleyman the Conqueror. Like I said, he thought he was the rightful ruler of the whole world and that he would put everything right under his rule. Islam was a military religion, even from the beginning of Muhammad. They forced their religion on people and expanded into these jihad, which were holy wars. And we saw this during the time of the Crusades. And we saw how Jerusalem was taken over in the midst of the Crusades and seized. Islam had control of the whole Middle East. Prince Henry, the Navigator, and Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain, Prince Henry of Portugal, they fought constantly against Muslim control. In 1526, the Muslims went into Hungary. And we see these Hungarian battles going on and on. He put a puppet ruler named John I, but Suleyman ruled through him in Hungary. And he struggled with Austria, which fought for Hungary. So there was this constant battle that went back and forth and back and forth. And in fact, Suleyman laid siege to Vienna, Austria, even. And Austria held out through all this time. In the end, we see that Suleyman himself was killed in a battle with Austria. He had powerful fleets and ships. He controlled the Mediterranean Sea for sure. He had a powerful admiral named Barbarossa. Barbarossa in 1538 ruled the ships. He was the admiral of all the ships under Suleyman. He defeated fleets that were set out from the Pope, fleets that were set out from Spain, from Venice, from Genoa, and also he conquered the Greek coastline there. He took over all of northern Africa, Tunisia and Algeria especially. He raided Spain, France, and Italy. Like I said, he did capture Greece in the end. He controlled the Red Sea, and he controlled the Persian Gulf. That's a lot of area. And then, as I said before, the arts, and he did study arts and poetry and music and all these things, even calligraphy. And he was a great poet. And so during this time, artists were considered, he actually gave them everything they needed. And they were considered to have in the royal Suleyman, he considered them to pay them well. And he brought them in to bring in the arts. And then the building projects. Oh my goodness. He built bridges. He built palaces, he built mosques all over. In fact, he was the one that redid the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem and rebuilt it, and he named the Lion Gate after himself. He said the Lion Gate was named after him, his gate, Suleyman. He had this beautiful, beautiful palace and the beautiful mosque that's now in Istanbul that used to be the Hagia Sophia and the church there. He transferred that all into Muslim mosques. He built mosques in Mecca and Medina and Saudi Arabia. Suleyman was the high point of Muslim power and unity in the world. But all rulers, all people get old. He started to unravel, and so did his empire. His 3 sons were fighting constantly for control. And Suleyman, he died in 1566, leading another siege into Hungary, as I said before. And there was a great cost of life on both sides. The Austrian Empire agreed to a truce with his son Selim II after Suleyman died. Selim II was one of the brothers, and that fought, and the other 2 brothers fought against him. They were all really alcoholics, I should say. They drank all the time, and they partied all the time. They weren't really good leaders at that point. The Ottoman Empire, though, did last another 350 years, but it never regained status after that. We see the Islam even today all over in that area, but not the Ottoman Empire as it was before. The empire unraveled, men's kings unravel, and pride goes before destruction. Yeah, Suleyman was a great, proud person, proud emperor. Thought he was right up there with God. But anyway, when I see these things, it makes me kind of sad, but it also, I see God's hand. The Bible says he sets up and brings down empires. So when you think of Suleyman, he wasn't really Solomon from the Bible. He was just like a counterfeit Solomon. Anyway, so that's it. And then we'll go on walking through this history. We're now in the late 1500s.